Joining me now in studio is Michael Brooks, a political analyst and host of the Majority Report and the Michael Brooks Show on YouTube, and Tom Borelli, contributor to the Conservative Review. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us. And Tom, I want to get your take. Fair, Trump won Pennsylvania by about 20 percentage points. Much is being made of Lamb's success. Do you see this as some kind of a reflection on President Trump or reflection on the Republicans?
No, not at all. One dot does not make a straight line, for sure. You can't extrapolate, I think, from that. But I think, it was, as you mentioned, he really ran as a Republican. He was pro-gun, pro-fracking, pro-coal. And the most important thing he did was he ran away from Nancy Pelosi, which made that a local race, not a national race. The runoff race, the special election in Georgia, Ms. Handel won. They made that a national race because all this left-wing money came in, and the individual there, Ossoff, didn't run from Pelosi. He ran towards her. So he ran a really smart race, Lamb. I have to give him credit.
Michael, what are you saying? Is this a barometer or not so much?
I mean, look, obviously it's a barometer, and there's a trend now, right? We have results in Alabama, which is quite striking and significant. We have blowout results in Virginia, which I wouldn't expect, and a strong result in New Jersey. He ran away from Nancy Pelosi. He also actually ran against Paul Ryan, which is an interesting thing that people aren't picking up on. So what he demonstrated is that the center is the opposite of how a lot of pundits usually frame it. Pundits kind of say, like, people are more sort of socially liberal, like where I'm at, and more economically conservative, and that's sort of the center. It's kind of like hedge funders that are pro-choice. It's actually the opposite in a lot of districts. And you saw with Lamb, yes, he ran away from Nancy Pelosi. He had some social sort of conservative signaling on certain issues. Tight and strong connections with labor, clear about raising wages. That actually neutralized Trump with more working class voters. He got the suburban vote that's repulsed by Trump, and he hit Ryan hard on the anti-middle class, anti-poor agenda. And that's how he won it.
Michael, speaking of running away from Pelosi, should Democrats be running away from Hillary Clinton, especially in light of those comments that she made in India, where...
I'm not familiar with who you're talking about.
She basically said that conservative women only voted for President Trump because their husbands or their sons or their bosses told them to. And that's caused a big uproar. And Democratic strategists, some of them are saying that the Democrats would be wise to put distance between themselves and Hillary Clinton. What do you think?
Okay, so yes and no. I mean, broadly, yes. Look, and if you're talking to younger, sort of left voters, 20s and 30s people, many of whom, like, myself, supported Bernie Sanders, this type of thing, Hillary Clinton doesn't do much for us, and she's really not... She's relevant to a certain kind of cult of people that love her, and she's relevant to a cult of people who hate her, both of whom are totally irrational. And I think it's like, look, it's a district by district thing. There's districts where people dig Hillary Clinton. They see her as a historical force. There's districts like the one we just saw with Conor Lamb, where of course he would want nothing to do with her. She can go to India and make her speeches. They'll try to make hay of it. I'm not particularly interested. Let's move forward and deal with the issues we have to deal with.
All right, let's move forward. Tom, Tillerson out. This was a long time coming, not exactly a huge surprise. What do you make of all of it?
No, it wasn't a surprise. President Trump and Secretary of State Tillerson, as of today, they differed on many issues. They differed on the United States moving the embassy to Jerusalem. They differed on the Paris Climate Change Accord. They certainly differed on the Iran deal. So I think that was a huge, can't have policy differences with your president. And the other thing is, Mr. Tillerson was the CEO. He was a god in ExxonMobil, and I don't think he liked taking orders from anybody. He hadn't done it in years.
Michael, much has been made about the reshuffling of positions, some giving it a spin of chaos and dysfunction. Others saying, you have a president that's relatively new to politics. He's figuring out what works for him, what doesn't work for him. And he's putting the people in the team that he thinks will work best. And that's a good move, rather than sticking with someone for the sake of sticking with someone at the risk of it not looking good. What do you think?
I think there's three quick points. There's a broader structural deficit. A lot of Republicans that are sort of in the mainstream foreign policy establishment, they can't work with this guy. They mutually alienated each other. He needed to bring in somebody like Tillerson who, because he didn't have support from Trump and because, and actually in spite of this sort of great CEO reputation, he didn't manage the State Department well at all. And he had a singular one-dimensional foreign policy. However, he was much sort of sane and more rational on things like the Iran deal and sort of needed agreements.
That's a matter of opinion, sane and rational. Some could say that giving Iran nuclear weapons is the epitome of insanity, but I'll let you finish your point.
Oh, it's definitely not giving. If the agreement says give them nuclear weapons, I guess that's a different agreement than the one that I read and the one that was certified. But
don't forget about the billions of dollars in cash that went to Iran.
Well,
as well.
You know, fair enough. But regardless of that, maybe that will be for another day. But I do think that we have to be really clear here that there's the difference between, yes, you need to have a president and a secretary of state that are synchronized, fine. But the ability to have actual honest exchange and disagreement is obviously lacking from this administration, and it's a personality thing. I mean, we all know about the comments that supposedly Tillerson said about Trump, which he never disavowed. And of course, that's going to bother a president like
Tom,
this.
I'll give you the final word here.
No, I think absolutely that's why Tillerson's no longer there. I think when you take a step back, I think President Trump is doing a magnificent job on foreign policy, not only moving the embassy to Jerusalem, but look, all of a sudden North Korea all of a sudden wants to negotiate. That hasn't happened forever. So we're making huge strides, and Mr. Tillerson wasn't part of that team.
And it's believed that Mike Pompeo will help him get his objectives because those two are aligned, it would appear.
Right.
All right. We're going to have to leave it there, though. Tom Borelli, Michael Brooks, thank you both. Appreciate it.